tournament for the first time. And they are the favorite to do so as they play North Dakota State, a team they beat twice in the regular season. Omaha had their usual incredible battle with Fort Wayne last night. I mean, every time those two teams play, that might be the best underrated rivalry in the country. I mean, every time they play, the game is down to the last possession or goes to overtime, and it did it again last night. Omaha pulls it out by one. North Dakota State, one of the surprise teams in this tournament thus far. Can Cinderella avoid the clock striking midnight and grab a bid to the big dance? No bid stealing here. This is Omaha could play in another tournament, possibly. Certainly not for North Dakota State. But this is it for these two teams. The winner basically keeps on playing, and the loser can pretty much put away the sneakers.
Well, Omaha beat them both meetings during the regular season. They beat them rather soundly. You're paying a price for them if you won Omaha tonight.
I would agree with that.
The number at 3.5. If you look at this game opened up 2.5 and went quickly to 3.5. But I go back and look at when they played during the season. Omaha was only a 3-point favorite at home, and now they're laying 3.5 on a neutral court. This is a conference
stage.
They're
a team with the pressure on them, quite frankly. They're supposed to win.
They're supposed to win, exactly. I'm going to go with the value. I think there's more value to take North Dakota State. They're playing with house money. They got nothing to lose. Omaha, knows the pressure's on them, and I just think the line is too high, Dave. But I will say this much with a disclaimer: I have not followed this conference this year. I know you do. Yeah. You follow it, and I would.
Doesn't mean I followed it well. I mean, not exactly doing anything right in college basketball right now, but Omaha's good,
but you're paying for it tonight.
Yeah,
with that number.
I can't lay it. I think the value. I would agree if you're just playing value. North Dakota State probably the right side, but I don't really like them either because I think Omaha's going to win the game. Jeff Sherman joins us right now. You can follow him on Twitter at GolfOdds. You can check out his website, golfodds.com, and a lot to talk about in the world of golf this weekend. But, Jeff, we're going to start with the NBA like we usually do because we've got a doubleheader tonight. And how much does the NBA take a back seat to college basketball while these tournaments are going on and while the NBA is kind of just heading down the regular season stretch? Does it impact the volume at all?
It does a bit. These last few weeks of regular season, you have a lot of players that don't normally play. And the public tends to shy away from that when there's uncertainty going on. And especially you have a lot of injuries at this time of year, too, when we get to the Timberwolves game. Half their team's injured. So it's just tough without all the information until you get that to be certain with your wager and then with everything else that's going up against with the college basketball.
All right, let's start with the Bucks and Pelicans. That's the opener of the TNT doubleheader. So at what point do the Bucks start resting guys because they're comfortable with where they are in the standings and want to make sure everybody's fresh come playoff time? Is that something we're going to have to look at on a daily basis now?
Well, just for clarification, this game is not on TNT tonight. The Spurs Mavericks starts off the TNT doubleheader.
Oh, okay. Well, Bucks and Pelicans is probably a better game, so I don't know. No, it's not, but I screwed that up.
Yeah, the problem with the Bucks is they're resting players. They have a few-game lead over Toronto right now, and when they have some separation, Toronto's in some situations where they're sitting their guys out, Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, things like that. So Milwaukee's going to take that approach. We've already seen it with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's that time of year where it just gets tough, and you really need to pay attention to Twitter before investing on this stuff.
So since I left it off the rundown, let's talk about that TNT game because it actually is a better game, obviously.
Yeah, we got the Spurs opened a 5-point favorite at Dallas. They're up to 5.5, and the whole question involved in this game is Luka Doncic, and I don't think he's going to end up playing tonight. He injured himself yesterday, so I expect this line to creep up. I expect him not to play, but Dallas is sitting there trying to keep their top 5 protected pick, so I don't think they're going to be going all out the rest of the season. I think there's going to be a lot of spots where you're going to see him. If Doncic is at all banged up, he'll err to the side of not playing just because they have that top 5 protected pick in the trade with Atlanta last year.
Now, do you put anything into the games the Mavericks might play would be the rivalry games with San Antonio and Houston just because they're rivalry games?
Well, especially at home. I think more so on the road, you'll see them taking that approach of where they can mask it, not get everyone involved. But like I mentioned, if Doncic doesn't play, that's just a whole different dynamic to this team. And if they were going to take this seriously in a rivalry game, they need him at 100%.
Moving to the next game, you got Minnesota at Denver, and as you alluded to, This looks like a mash unit on the injury report for Minnesota. How do you put a number up?
Well, it's a bit of a middle ground number. When we did it, Karl Anthony Towns, who knows how long he was going to be out, but he's now been upgraded to probable. So this line's gone from 10 down to 9, but you still have the question marks of Jeff Teague, Derrick Rose, and Andrew Wiggins, all important contributors to the team. So if it's Towns out there by himself and the others are out, this line's going to go back up again. But like I mentioned, the number's up there, somewhat of a middle ground, but it's tough to get invested on this without having all the knowledge of who's exactly going to be in the lineup.
Let's go to the West Coast and take on the Blazers and Clippers as they match up tonight. And, look, these are two teams that are looking to keep on playing past the end of the regular season. And I think this is a pretty good battle that, at least to me, at first glance, looks like it should be the best game of the night.
Yeah, especially the Clippers are coming off an impressive win against Boston last night, and it's a rare home back-to-back for them with Portland coming in. So Portland's laying 2.5, and right now they're getting the money. I think people are, even though the Clippers won last night, expecting the back-to-back to take its toll, and we're seeing money show up on the short road favorite Portland.
Jeff, with the Clippers win last night, since December 26th, if you pick the outright winner in the Clippers game, you're now 34-1. The spread has not come into play. 34-1. Just picking the straight-up winner is against the spread winner as well.
Wow, that's pretty impressive there. I need to find more trends like that one.
It's like that Blackhawks.
You still got to pick the winner of the game, though. That's not always the easy thing to do.
No, it's not easy in college basketball either, because now we're in tournament mode. And one of the cool things, if you've got the mobile app for Superbook USA, you can scan the odds to win every tournament out there. I mean, you've got them all up. Another reason to have the mobile app. How about the action? Which conferences are we seeing action in, and any teams that are sticking out in terms of getting money to win their conference tournament?
Yeah, the action's been brisk. Just as you mentioned, we've got odds to win all the conference tournaments available up until they start. So far in the major conferences, the Big 12, Iowa State's gotten a lot of wagering support, from 7-1 down to 7-2.
Wow.
So they're now the second favorite behind Texas Tech to win the Big 12, ahead of Kansas and Kansas State. So we've seen a lot there. The Big 10, Purdue has been the one that stood out, from 3-1 down to 5-2, behind Michigan State and Michigan. A longer shot in the ACC, Syracuse has gone from 80-1 to 50-1. So we've got some people out there that think they're going to be able to beat Virginia, Duke, and North Carolina out of that one. But our largest liability right now, we're sitting on California in the Pac-12. They've gone from 500-1 down to 100-1, and we actually have taken considerable wagers on that.
Jeff, going back to that Iowa State game, that one is really surprising. But early in the season, both Dave and myself thought Iowa State was a team that could contend for the Big 12 title, and they played so poorly down the stretch. The money that you're getting on that, would you deem that sharp money coming in, respected accounts? Yeah, it's been sharp money, and it has caused us to reshape how we've got the teams. Like I mentioned, they're now ahead of Kansas State, which they weren't. So it's very respected money.
UNLV is 20-1, plus 2,000 to win the Mountain West Conference tournament. Any takers?
No, we haven't had anything yet. We're just getting some that show up on Nevada at 5-8, a little bit on Utah State, so the two favorites, but nothing on UNLV so far.
All right, Vegas Golden Knights. No, I want to go back for a moment, because we were talking about the Ravens losing people on defense. The Steelers obviously have lost some key personnel, and the Raiders picking up Antonio Brown. So I want to look at two teams, three actually, Browns and Bengals futures. Anything happening with them with the carnage in Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and any love for the Raiders with Antonio Brown and who knows, maybe even Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, as far as the Browns, we've dropped the Browns from 30 to 25 as we've since raised Pittsburgh and Baltimore up. Cincinnati's still holding at 100-1. They still look like the outsider in that division. But the Raiders have seen a lot of support. We've gone from 100 to 80 off the initial Antonio Brown trade, and now they even signed LaMarcus Joyner today, the safety from the Rams. So we keep seeing support for him, so we've lowered him to 60-1 for the Super Bowl.
Moving to the hockey, with the Golden Knights winning streak finally came to an end. First loss since they got Stone on the team. Have you seen it in that game? Really, it was a horrible spot for them, back-to-back games, and then put Saban in at goal instead of Fleury. Have you seen any movement on them with the prices on this winning streak? Anybody jumping on the bandwagon as we get close to playoff time?
We've seen a little bit here and there, and just as you mentioned, that was a terrible spot in Calgary. And that game accounted for our largest wagered Knights game of the season. We had sharp groups on both sides of it, just moving the game 5 cents here and there. It was a battle back and forth, so the handle was tremendous on that. But Calgary came away with the win to snap the streak. And over this streak, we've seen some support. The Knights are at 8-1 for the Stanley Cup title, and it trickles in at that. So I know the Corsi's the Corsi rating says that the Knights are one of the top teams in the West. And, if you look from that perspective, hopefully they can make a deep run in the playoffs again.
All right, Jeff Sherman, here we go, because this is one of your fun weekends. It's the TPC at Sawgrass. It's a great event, even without Tiger Woods playing. It's going to be fun. It's one of the most enjoyable holes in golf, that island hole, which is just a blast to watch, and a great field this weekend for one of the almost majors.
Yeah, well, Tiger is playing. He didn't pull out.
Yeah, that's right. He missed the Palmer. That's right.
Yeah, he missed last week, but he says he's good to go this week, and he's a 25-1 longer shot. He doesn't seem to be 100%, even though he says it, so his odds are a bit longer than we'd expect to see. But Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, the co-favorites at 12-1, Justin Thomas 16. Everyone else goes up from 20-1 or higher. It's such a deep, strong field. You can find some real nice prices all throughout.
I'll throw a guy at you, and I know he's not in great form, but he's done well on this course. I think his game actually suits this course pretty well, and he's going to get hot at some point. Alex Noren's a nice player, and right now, I guess it's tough to bet him in his current form, but, boy, I wouldn't be shocked if he makes a move this week.
Yeah, and he's seen some wagering support so far. I opened him at 100-1. He's down to 80-1, and, he's got a couple good years on this course with two times experience, but like you mentioned, his current form is nothing to be desired for, so it's tough to get behind him, but people like the longer prices that are involved.
Speaking of longer prices, well, it's not necessarily longer prices, but there's not a single guy that's a single-digit future right now for the Masters, which means a great opportunity for bettors to get some return for their money.
Yeah, it's so wide open. It's just the talent pool is so deep. It's tough to start anyone out less than a 10-1, which Dustin Johnson is, but Tiger's getting the wagering support like he always does. We took a $10,000 wager on him at 12-1 a few weeks ago. It's getting spread out. I took some Molinari support just today after he comes off his win at Arnold Palmer Invitational. So it's really starting to pick up right now.
Jeff, where are we going for soccer this week?
Well, we're right in the middle of Champions League play. There's a couple matches going on as we speak, but big one tomorrow, Liverpool at Bayern Munich. And the first leg of this was a 0-0 draw. So if a team ends up winning the match, they end up progressing to the next round. So Bayern Munich's laying a half a goal, plus 110, plus a half, minus 130 on Liverpool. It was a draw in the first one. If I had to play this, I'd take the plus a half in this with these two heavyweights.
Me too. Just because I like, I'm still a big Beatles fan, and there's a Liverpool connection there. So, let's win one for Paul McCartney.
There you go.
Why not? It's as good as anything. Jeff, what's happening this weekend as we get into the big tournament action at the Westgate?
Well, we got all the conference tournaments in full swing, and we'll be preparing our props for next week when we do all the tournament props and number one seeds and all the fun stuff that everyone's used to, to make the Final Four. And we'll have just tons of pages on the tournament props. So we'll be gearing that stuff for this weekend and getting a lot of that up on Monday.
Don't forget, if you're an action junkie, by the way, the poker room, perfectly situated, right, Marco?
You can sit right. You got to sit on. It depends which side of the table you sit on. You got to get the right side. You're looking right at the sports book. But if you're on the other side, they have TVs in the sports book as well. But I like the big screens.
It's just the setup down there is absolutely sensational. You can have a lot of fun. It's a great time at the Westgate Superbook USA. Always a pleasure, Jeff. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Jeff Sherman. Again, follow him on Twitter at Golf Odds. And if you want a complete rundown on the golf odds that are up for the TPC, go to golfodds.com. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Joe's Angle of the Day. And then Marco's home team. Today's Big League Baseball preview is on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The Las Vegas Sportsline. ESPN Radio invites you to our home for all the hockey action this season, Pizza Rock inside Green Valley Ranch Hotel and Casino. Come watch hockey with ESPN Radio on Pizza Rock's 80-inch big screen TVs and warm up with the tastiest happy hour kicking off at 3 p.m. with Cofield's broadcasting live every week. Score $4 meatballs, $5 one-topping personal pizzas, and $4 well drinks, wine, and 32-ounce PBRs. Respect the craft and respect the game at Pizza Rock for exciting hockey action with ESPN.